So what
Yeah.
do you have to tell like younger engineers about clippers versus limiters?
Let's get to the fundamentals. So you got a waveform, a sine wave, okay? Perfectly symmetrical, you'll get a fundamental frequency plane, okay? You go to do, you get a square wave, okay? Square at the top, square at the bottom, technically hard clipping. Okay, what harmonics does it produce? It's going to give odd harmonics, okay? I had to search that up a little bit to make sure my brain was in gear, but uh, it'll have odd harmonic series, okay? That impacts the tone, okay? Now, how prevalent those harmonics are will be dependent on how hard you clip your signal, okay? So you have to understand the trade-off here. So you go to clip a signal, are you going to clip transients, really short transients? Well, then those harmonics that it produces from clipping it, okay, those are harmonic distortions, are going to be masked a little bit more. They're going to be a little bit less noticeable. They might even add some aggression or tone to those transient peaks and hits. Are you going to be hard clipping a long sustaining string section? Okay, you know what's going to happen. Those distortions are going to completely warp your perception and sound of those passages or those envelopes. So the first thing is just to understand just basic synthesis in terms of how waveforms are produced. If you're hard clipping, you're going to be cutting the top, you're going to be introducing those odd harmonics. Are they something that's desirable? Yes or no? That's a sort of a filter you can use as to, are you going to use hard clipping? Are you not going to use hard clipping? You go into limiters. Okay, different sort of kettle of fish. You've got look ahead time. It can read these peaks. It is a gain reduction circuit. So then you can say it. Transient peaks aren't going to feel as punchy as a result. So if you've got a look ahead and a limiter, it's going to be pulling those peaks down and you're going to be losing some of that impact. You're not going to get the harmonic distortions you would with the hard clipper, but you'll control it, but lose that impact. Whereas, let's say you've got those sustained string sections, a big envelope on an opening pad that's like taking up the whole frequency spectrum. You can use your limiter with a slower release, something like the IRC algorithm that can read some of those distortions that it's going to introduce and accommodate for it. And you can get a really transparent way of controlling those more longer sustained sections. So my thinking is clipper or limiter. Okay, understand how they both work, how they both interact with the sound. Then you can listen to the material and go, oh, this is a really super punchy electronic track. I'm going to use a clipper here because it's going to, number one, add a little bit of character and it's not going to completely kill my transients, but it's going to be better than what a limiter would do that just ends up pumping the track and I lose all that energy and vibe.
That's great. That's an amazing yeah, amazing breakdown. I feel like I got to find some visuals to put on screen. So hopefully if you're watching this, I found some.
No, fair enough. Yeah, no, because yeah, it's. I think we've touched on it a few times in this episode, where I've just pulled back to fundamentals. Okay, you have to understand your core
Yeah.
processes and the signal you're using, because all we're doing is there's a waveform. Okay, well, it's not a pure waveform in digital world; it's PCM encoded. So there are sample points there that are reconstructing a waveform, and we have to understand how we interact with that, how we manipulate it. So you give the question, oh, what about artificial intelligence? What about these more advanced processes that we're using that use certain algorithms and this, that, the other? Well, how does it affect that signal? There are new ways of interacting with that data, and how can we leverage that to interact with it and create the best sound that we possibly can?